Today we're talking about why your weight doesn't matter as much as you think it does. Welcome to my Menopause Monday. My name is Kate. I share a weekly video with you every Monday around something related to menopause. If you're new to the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. If you've got anything you'd like me to cover in a future episode, either drop it in the comments or you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Kate Hartley UK, and I'd be more than happy to add it to my rotation. So hands up if you've ever stepped on the scale and you look at it and you just think, really? I've been trying so hard, I've been doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and still the scale has not budged. There is a reason for that. In fact, there's several reasons for that, and I'm going to go into those in detail today and also help you understand that the scale is a really poor measurement of your progress. The scale only measures your overall weight. It does not take into account whether that is fat loss, muscle loss, water retention. You might have had a salty meal the night before. You might be coming up to your period if you're perimenopausal. And also through menopause, your body is changing so much all of the time. So the scale is just giving you like a random figure. Now, in the earlier days, before I got really healthy and understood about my menopause symptoms, I weighed lighter than I do now. I weigh probably maybe even 10 pounds heavier than I did back then. And my measurements are down and I feel leaner and fitter and stronger. And I'm going to go into all of that with you today because I really want you to understand that the scale, you can pretty much chuck it out. It's an okay indicator, but there are better indicators for progress. And I really want you to understand that weight loss really isn't the thing you want to be focusing on. You want to be focusing on fat loss. And I'm going to show you the best ways in order to achieve success with that fat loss and to be able to measure it correctly. The difference between muscle versus fat. Muscle is a pound of muscle weighs the same as a pound of fat, but a pound of muscle takes up much smaller space. It's a much denser tissue than fat, and fat actually helps you to hang on to fluid as well. So if you've got excess fat, there are going to be times, particularly if you're stressed or if you've had a salty meal, or indeed if you're constipated, the weight is going to go up. But fat in and of itself hangs on, it acts like a sponge. So it's increasing, it's encouraging you to hang on to fluid. It's encouraging you to hang on to the hormones that you really want to be getting rid of. So fat is what you want to be focusing on, getting rid of. Muscle is what you want to be focusing on building. Now, a little while back, there was this one of my all-time favorite 80-day strength training programs. And it's brilliant for a woman's body. It uses resistance loops and weights. It's absolutely fabulous. But the thing I really want you to take from it is a lot of women and men started it with quite a significant amount of weight to lose. Weight, as in fat to lose. But the scales barely changed at all. There's this one woman that I remember, and her measurements around her body went down incredibly. And I think the scale budged by about 2 pounds. It went down by about 2 pounds. Now, if you looked at her before photos, you'd have thought, oh my gosh, no, she has lost loads. She lost the fat, but replaced it with muscle. And that, as we go through the menopause, is really important to do. It's not just about burning that fat. You need to be replacing it with muscle. And I'll be going into that in more detail through the course of this video. So you've got a couple of types of fat. You've got your visceral fat, which is stored around your abdomen. That's the dangerous fat. That's the fat that causes inflammation in the body. And you've got your subcutaneous fat, which is the fat that's under your skin. When you burn fat, you're going to be losing it all over. But it's the visceral fat that you really do want to focus on because, like I say, that is metabolically active. And that is what is also linked to increased risks of dementia, heart disease, cancer, etc. But it packs around your organs. So even though you might think, oh, I've got a bit of a bulge, the stuff that's packed around your organs might be significant, even though you might not think that you've got much there. It's a bit like clutter in your house. You know, you bung the stuff under the bed, you cram it into the wardrobe, you shut it into the drawers. That's like the visceral fat. You can't see it, but it's there and it tends to accumulate too. So, you know, you just think, oh, I'll just cram that under the bed as well. And then I'll just cram that under the bed as well. That is like visceral fat. It's the stuff we can't see. It's cluttering. It's doing no good at all. And you want to get rid of it. Visceral fat also can produce certain hormones, and that can lead to increased inflammation in the body. It interferes with the body's ability to regulate blood sugar, so it can influence the insulin in our bodies. Now, the insulin is something that tends to rise as we go through the menopause. In any case, as estrogen or sex hormones fall, Generally, cortisol levels, one of the stress hormones, increases in the body. And when cortisol is released, it also stimulates the release of insulin. So we're always fighting that insulin resistance, against insulin resistance. We are no longer as sensitive to insulin as we used to be in our younger years. And insulin resistance is also shown as fat around the middle, that visceral fat. That visceral fat does create inflammation. It's something that it doesn't look nice, but the health risks associated with it are far greater than just the fact that you've got a fat belly. It is something that we really do need to take seriously for healthy longevity, and also to make sure that, you know, we're not increasing our risks of heart disease, we're not increasing our risks of cancer. Our bodies, as they age, you know, naturally it's a harder process to stay healthier and stronger and active. So that is one of the things we can easily eradicate from what our body has to deal with on a daily basis. In any case, is helping make sure that that visceral fat is kept at a minimum. We do need fat in the body. I don't want you to think, all right, I'm just going to go low fat, because that's not necessarily going to get rid of the visceral fat. It's generally the sugars, the processed foods that you're eating that are leading to visceral fat, plus stress. If you can manage your stress effectively, you'll be doing yourself such a great service, even if you did everything right. So your gut health's good, you eat healthy, you don't drink alcohol, you're reducing your sugars, or you don't eat sugars, you don't eat processed foods, and you're under serious stress, you're still going to struggle with belly fat. Stress really is absolutely key, particularly if you sleep badly as well. And I know through menopause it's more difficult to sleep properly. But a lot of our poor sleep is down to our lifestyle factors that are influencing our menopause symptoms, how we're experiencing the menopause. And yes, there's that resistance. I love my wine. And a lot of people say, but I love my glasses of wine. Well, then it's a sacrifice, because you do have that choice to make. When I go teetotal, I sleep so much better, I feel better, my energy's better. And you might say, well, why are you so stupid to go and drink wine again? I don't know. It's something I've done all my life, pretty much since about the age of 3. And I really enjoy my glasses of wine. I'm not addicted to alcohol. I can just go teetotal if I want to. I actually really love red wine. I love champagne. I love whiskey. I love cider. I like various craft beers. I really do enjoy them. I don't eat other rubbish. That is kind of my rubbish. Don't drink to get drunk. It's normally 1 or 2 glasses. And if I have any more than that, I think, oh no, actually, I don't want any more. So yes, and in my case, it is, well, I know I sleep worse when I've had a glass or 2 of wine in the evening. And so it is always that choice. But remember, we always do have that choice. There's nobody like controlling our arm. We're not a robot and going, right, you're going to eat it and you're going to drink it. I don't care what you say. It's just us making ourselves do it. So be really mindful of that. And while you might enjoy it, what do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy the glass of wine, for instance, or the cake? Or would you rather get rid of the menopause symptoms? And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. But if you're really struggling to get back onto that sort of healthy, just a healthy way of life, or you've never been in a healthy way of life and you're now knowing that you need to start, remember, you don't have to do it forever. As you incorporate more healthy habits into your life, you won't want the sugars, you won't want the processed food. You'll look at it completely differently. I absolutely promise you will. And it's like when I've been teetotal for a couple of weeks, I don't even think about a glass of wine. When I'm drinking wine, I'm thinking, oh, really looking forward to that glass of red this evening. But when I've been off it for a couple of weeks, I just think, yeah, my halo's shining bright, I've got the energy, I'm sleeping even better, and my menopause symptoms literally go, oh, right down. And that is a combination of gut health and healthy eating too. I don't eat rubbish food. I refuse to stick processed food between my lips. It's poison. And when you can adopt a stance that really is, okay, no, I'm not going to eat that because it's actually going to do me no good, or accept that, okay, if I eat that, I'm going to have these symptoms. It really is about you thinking, am I feeding myself for health, or am I fueling the worsening of my menopause symptoms and ultimately the worsening of my health going forward as well? So without that sounding too harsh, it is a choice that we all have. You know, for me personally, I just think cognitive decline as I get older. Of course, we all get older, we get a bit slower, our brains don't work as well. You know, my brain, there are days it's just like, what the heck did I come into the kitchen for? And you know, I think that's across the board for all of us. but to then lose it completely, that I have to be put into a care home because I have such significant cognitive decline. I don't want that. And there is so much that we can do to stop that. And that is reducing that inflammation in your body. So it is focusing on your gut health, but it's also doing the other things that are going to support long-term health going forward, as in eating the right stuff, drinking plenty of water, prioritizing sleep, managing stress effectively. But largely, unfortunately, it's what we eat and drink and feed ourselves that is responsible for a lot of the stuff that we, there's the symptoms that we have. So how to measure progress beyond the scale? There's several ways. I think one of the best ways is, if you know you have fat to lose, is try on a piece of clothing right now that you can't get on, and take a photograph of you with it, like a pair of trousers or a skirt, or something that hasn't got a stretchy waistband, but something that you cannot get on yet that you desperately want to be able to get into. That's your ideal healthy weight. And take a photo. And you won't want to see the photo. You don't have to. Just put it in your album and keep it and save it for later. And then once a month, put that outfit on, or that piece of clothing on again, and photograph yourself again. And you're probably going to be getting, if you're doing the right things, you'll get it up further. And eventually you'll get it to the stage where you can get it up, you can get it on, and you might even have space in between your belly and the button or the zip. The other thing is to take before photos, and then update your photos every month. So again, do front, from side, both sides, and the back, and just see how, if you've got like a lot of back fat, you'll notice that the ripple will be getting less. Your waist will be going in. The other bits are fairly obvious. Your arms will be getting slimmer, your legs will be getting slimmer. If you're very slender, or if you're thin, and you need, you're unhealthy thin, then you're going to need to build that up with muscle. So your measurements in that instance are going to go out, which is good, because skinny is as unhealthy as overweight as well. So we're looking for lean muscle mass around your body. The other thing to is to measure your, around your belly, so the narrowest part of your waist, or indeed, if you don't have like a waist that goes in, just measure it around your belly button. A circumference around, I think it's 35 inches plus, is not a healthy circumference. Ideally, you want less than that. The most effective ways to see if you've got a healthy weight is your waist circumference divided by your hip circumference. So what you want to do is measure yourself around either the narrowest part of your waist or around your belly button, and then the widest part around, so your buttocks and your hips. Your waist is divided by the hips. So measure it in centimeters. And if you've got 0.80, that's considered healthy. If you're above 0.85 in women, that's considered a little bit too much. You want to get that down. I measured mine about 3 weeks ago, and mine was 0.73. Just as a guide, I'm 5'8". I weigh about 104, I don't know, but probably between about 140 and 145 pounds. I might even be 147 pounds. So just to sort of give you an indication, not saying that I'm the ideal, but it just gives, I know I'm lean and I'm slender enough to be healthy. So just sort of give you a guideline on that one as well. Also look for other non-scale victories. So if your sleep is improving, if your mood is improving, that is a really important sign that the inflammatory markers in your body are going down. And that is really important that you're aware of that, because I think often we, if you're struggling to lose weight or burn fat effectively, it might be because you've not built enough lean muscle mass yet. It might be that you're very, very stressed. It might be that you're really struggling to get your nutrition on point. So focus on the other things that you can consider. So are you feeling proud of yourself that you've actually started to change a few things? Are you drinking more water? I have a friend, he likes to drink a bottle of red wine a night, and he started strength training and just drinking more water than he was. Didn't change anything else, and he lost a significant amount of weight. I can't remember how much he said he lost, but it's something like 2 stone. And that was just by drinking more water, because when the body is dehydrated, in fact, I'll link to the end of it. When your body is dehydrated, you actually lock the ability to burn fat again. It's quite interesting, the science of it. It's not the most obvious thing that you'd think of, but it's definitely worth understanding that even mild dehydration can prevent you from burning fat or shedding fat effectively. So keep drinking water. It's really, really important that you're doing that. But do focus on those non-scale victories, because it can be quite disheartening if you're thinking you're doing all the stuff, and sometimes it just takes a bit of time if you've got a lot of toxins in your body. So fat hangs on to stuff, like I said earlier, it acts like a sponge. So if your fat is hanging on to the toxins which are in your body, it might take your body a bit of time to start to shift that fat. There's a lady that I worked with in my body confidence group. She joined a couple of months ago, and it took her about 6 weeks before she started to shift the fat. She was working pretty well. She had a big sugar craving, but she significantly cut back, and she was doing other things as well to help herself. Started strength training, and after her week 6, all of a sudden her body was thinking, okay, I'm fine now, and I'm safe to release the fat. And when the body's in, when we're not looking after our bodies well, we're in this state of fight and flight all the time, or the vast majority of the time. And when your body's in stress like that, it's not going to shift the fat. So it is important just to stick with it and to have faith in that process. Most people, thank goodness, do lose fat fairly fast. There's a 21-day program that is a firm favourite with the ladies that I work with, and a lot of them lose between 8 and 15 pounds in their first 3 weeks. And that is a combination of strength training, a little bit of the right kind of cardio, also understanding how to feed their bodies for health. So understanding the balance of macros throughout the course of the day, and also correct portion sizes. And the strange thing is most of them, I mean, I know when I did it myself, just like, oh my God, I can eat so much. And it was almost like, I think I'm actually going to put weight on because I'm eating so much. But you don't. You have to feed your body in order for it to burn fat. The minute you start to slow down what you're eating or reduce what you're eating, your metabolism slows down. It will absolutely happen every single time. So, for instance, if you weigh 200 pounds and you say you just start to strength train, so you're burning maybe, just for simplicity's sake, 500 calories extra a day, right? So over the course of a week, that means you're losing about a pound healthily, a pound of fat a week. Well, over the course of 2 years approximately, that would mean that you've lost 200 pounds, you would vanish. So it's a physical impossibility. That's why the calories in, calories out thing does not work. You have to, your body adapts, your metabolism slows right down. The body is designed to survive. So no matter how much you try and tweak it, you're just fighting against yourself. When you eat food, the proper food, you get to eat loads of it. You feel incredible. Your energy levels are like off the charts. I actually struggle to eat the amount of stuff that I should eat for maximum weight strength training, for maximum muscle mass building, and also fat loss burning. It's remarkable the amount that you can eat. And I think everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to starve myself. Not at all. That is by far the wrong thing to do. Going into the benefits of strength training for fat loss. When you're building more muscle, you are keeping your metabolism going. Muscle is metabolically active and it burns more calories. So the more muscle that you have, technically, the more calories that you burn. We need lean muscle. You're not going to get bulky if you're a woman. You won't look like a man because you don't have the amount of testosterone in your body. It's one of the questions I get asked a lot. It's just like, oh, I don't want to look too like manly. You won't. You haven't got those levels of testosterone. It is absolutely vital that you create muscle in your body. And if you've never started to do that yet, just start. If you want any help with that, just let me know. That's what I work with ladies daily, is helping them get started with strength training program, and also understanding how to eat for long-term health and maximum fat loss and hormone balance and gut health, because they're all tied into each other. You might think, oh God, that sounds far too complicated. You don't have to worry about it. It's all laid out for you. It's in a system, it's in a program, and you have access to me every single day in order to help you. So if you want any help with that, just fill in the Sparkle Back form in the description box beneath the video. If you're watching this on Instagram later or Facebook, click the link in my bio, or just send me a message and I can help you with that. But you do need to focus on eating the right kinds of foods plentifully, and also strength training. When we create lean, strong muscles, they also pull against the bones, and there's a much greater risk of osteoporosis, so brittle bone disease, as we get through the menopause and beyond. When you've got strong muscles, because they're pulling against those bones, that stress actually helps to reinforce the bones. So you're not stressing the bones so much that they're going to snap, but you're just making them stronger. Also the attachment point. So you know, ligaments attach bone to bone, tendons attach muscle to bone. It's really important that those connective tissues are really strong too, because they don't get an awful lot of blood flow, the ligaments and tendons. There's not a lot of blood vessels in them, which is when, you know, if you tear your Achilles or something, they can take forever to recover. I'm still working through a hip injury that I did by stamping on kindling in the garden. I think I did it, or it might have just been lifting very, very heavy stuff in the garden. But yeah, months on, it's still recovering. It's getting a lot better, but you know, things like your tendons and your ligaments can take ages. But when you're building strong muscles, you're helping to create, you know, keep that blood flow up around through those tendons and the ligaments. We absolutely need to move. The problem is so many of us become sedentary and we think, oh, I'm too tired to exercise. That is completely the back to front way of looking at it. Exercise generates energy. Exercise fuels the mitochondria, the little powerhouses in your cells. So when you're feeling exhausted, I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but move your body because it energizes you. You don't have to do some crazy cardio. In fact, you shouldn't be doing crazy cardio at this stage of life anyway. You need strength training and the right kind of high intensity interval training, because it gets your aerobic capacity up for long enough, but not so long that you're spiking the cortisol, which then leads to the insulin increase and then essentially visceral fat deposition. So you want to be doing the right kind of strength training combined with high intensity interval training for a short period of time, letting your heart rate come right back down again before you do another burst of HIIT, which is why I think when you can follow a program, it's so easy because it's just done for you. I think we all think, oh God, but I've got to understand every piece about it. No, you don't. Just follow the system. Follow the meal plan. The meal plan's there for you. It tells you what to eat. Of course, you've got variety on it. It's not like, but I don't want to eat that for breakfast. You don't have to eat that for breakfast. There's loads of different options, but it's all laid out for you in such a simplistic way that literally all you have to do is go, okay, I'm going to do that, that, and that, and I'm going to do that workout, and that's it. That's me done for the day. It is super, super simple. So don't overthink it. There is so much that you can achieve with just taking a few small steps. And to begin with, it might even be that the scale goes up. So you started this strength training program, you're eating more like you should do, and then you step on the scale, which you think, oh, I know I'm going to have lost weight, and then it's gone up, and you're just thinking, well, this is not working, I'm just getting fatter. It's not that at all. When you are new to exercise, or indeed when you change what you're doing. I mean, when I do a new program, often I get sore muscles again because I'm doing something slightly different. You know, all the programs train you in a slightly different way, which is why I love changing up the programs, because I'm an absolute squirrel brain, and I've got another 1 week left of the current program I'm doing, and then I'm really excited about starting something new because it's a different trainer, it's a fresh way, you know, it's a fresher approach again. So when you start strength training as a beginner, or when you change up what you're doing, you're like to have some inflammation in your muscles, and that's what that soreness is. That soreness is good as long as it's not agonizing. If it's really agonizing, you might want to sort of do a less intense program for a while to get you sort of into it, but make sure you're warming up, you're cooling down properly as well. But that soreness is inflammation. So it's the muscles, because when we're doing strength training, we're creating little micro tears in the muscles. That's actually what happens. And you know, you might think, oh, but I'm damaging myself. When your muscles are healing, that's when they then get stronger. So you're creating a little bit of damage in the muscle for it to then build back stronger and continue to build back stronger. So when you're newer to a strength training program, or like you change your program up, you may have that inflammation, which means that you're hanging on to a bit more fluid, which means that the scale can weigh even heavier. So that's why I think it's important to have a mentor or a personal trainer that you can just say, listen, this has happened. Is this normal? What's likely to happen next week? And you know, are the things that you ought to be changing. And same with salty food. If you eat salty food, that can make you hang on to fluid as well. But also know that you do need a certain amount of salt. I cook literally everything from home, and I have to make sure I'm eating salt daily in order to have enough salt so my electrolyte balance is good. It's around about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of salt is what we need for our electrolytes. So if you do, you know, if you're like me, you drink a lot of water, you're keeping yourself fit, you're eating healthy, but you're not adding salt to anything. Make sure that you are adding it to a degree so that you're not salt depleted, because otherwise you'll end up with cramps, and it just affects the electrolytes in your body. Remember that the number on the scale is just a fairly inconclusive part of the jigsaw puzzle, and there are a lot of other ways of tracking your progress much more effectively. Understand that sometimes the scale might go up, and that is not a reason to abandon or jump ship. It's just like dig in there and stay with it, because if you're doing the strength training, if you're eating the right kinds of foods in the right proportions, you will be burning fat and you will be building lean muscle, and that is what you want. You need that lean muscle to keep your bones strong. And also the other thing is that when you're building muscles actually directly suck glucose out of the bloodstream. So, you know, if you're insulin resistant and you need to improve your insulin sensitivity, so resistant is bad, sensitive is good. If you're insulin resistant, by strength training, you're doing yourself such a big favor, because the muscles are directly sucking the glucose out of the bloodstream, which is having a favorable impact on your insulin levels, as well as just holding up your posture well. And, you know, a strong core. So many people say, oh my, but you know, I've got a sore back. I'm a sports massage therapist, and the amount of people that say, God, terrible back pain. And often it's because their core is so weak. Every movement comes from the core. So once you can strengthen your core too, it will benefit you on so many different levels. Because you know what, if you have back pain, you probably your shoulders are hunched, and you crunch over a bit, and you become less, you move less, because you're trying to protect against the pain. You need to make sure that you're moving, because when you do what most people do, is protect yourself by not moving much, your joints seize up. Most of the joints of the human body are synovial joints, which means that they're in a capsule that's surrounded by synovial fluid. Movement stimulates the production of synovial fluid. Lack of movement, they just get cluggy. You don't want that. You want to be feeding the cartilage that's protecting your joints. You want to be feeding that synovial capsule. And when you're moving, you've got stronger muscles, you're going to be supporting your joints more as well. I have both of my sacroiliac joints are quite mobile. Started really when I had my children. I had to be in a corset when I was pregnant. It was awful. The pain was immense. And so as soon as I was cleared to do it, I started Pilates. And I've made sure I've kept a strong core ever since. Same, I broke my neck. I make sure my neck is super strong. My neck, my shoulders, my core, everything is just like so strong now, because if I don't keep it strong, they hurt, and I don't want to be in pain. It's like I've got this hip injury, and there are times when literally it's agonizing. It just comes out of nowhere. It's just like, oh crikey, and then it's gone again. But if I was just to decide not to do anything for months now, because I've had it this long, it would probably have got worse. Whereas now I'm still moving it. I'm obviously careful with it, but it's definitely getting better. And it's just, you're in for the long haul. I injured my other hip years ago. I was at a party and I fell off the table trying to do a high kick. Not very glamorous. And actually, it's the same night I think I broke my sister's foot as well, because I was doing another high kick, and her foot happened to be underneath my high heel when it came down to the ground. I'm not proud of that moment, but it was a fun evening. And I hurt hurt the other hip doing that, and that lasted for about 7 to 9 months. It would wake me up at night. It was so painful. So these things, we do have them, but if you stop moving, you're doing yourself the greatest disservice. So obviously move within reason. If you've got if your femur's cracked, you've got to allow it to heal. But for the vast majority of us, we need to be moving way more than we're doing. And you might have a transitory period of a couple of weeks where your joints are a little bit achy and tweaky while things are strengthening up and moving more, but after that time you will start to feel so much better. And mentally too, it's so important that you move, because it's so good for your mental health. It helps flood your body with endorphins, the feel-good hormones, helps to gobble up stress hormones. And you remember I said, if you do everything right and you're still under significant stress, you're still going to have the belly fat and the visceral fat. So if you can manage your stress, working out gobbles those stress hormones. So just know that the scale is such a poor indicator of your progress. So it's the clothes. Try an item of clothing on that you can't get up. Do your waist to hip circumference ratio. If you can't remember what I said, you can Google it. It's dead easy. Just Google what is the waist to hip ratio, and you can work it out from that way. The before photos, and then take progress update photos every month or so. And then if you really want to get on the scales, do after a month or so. But I would chuck them away unless you've got some smart scales and they give you your bone mass, your muscle mass. Well, I've got a set of scales like that, but I rarely go on them. I just go on occasionally to make sure my bone mass is really good and my muscle mass is really, really good, and they're like really, really good. So I don't even really. That's why I couldn't tell you what my weight is. It will be around between 140 and 148 pounds, I should think. But it doesn't matter because I still wear clothes that I wore when I was in my teenage years and I was a slender teenager. That's the most important thing, is that your clothes fit you, that you feel confident, that you feel strong yourself, and it's a journey. Don't expect overnight success. But one thing I can promise you, if you start this healthy journey, you're starting to eat the right foods, more of them, and you're starting to do your strength training. With most women straight away, it's just like, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. I feel so good. And if you struggle for a day or two, by day 3, you're just going to be thinking, you might not see it. You might not see the muscle definition yet, but you will be feeling it. All of a sudden, you start to feel like more postured in your core, and you just think, oh, yeah, I like this feeling. And it just goes on from there. It builds from there. It's brilliant. So if you're resistant to it, ask yourself, why are you resistant to it? If it's just like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I can't be bothered today. Tomorrow never comes. And with time, your cortisol levels, they atrophy, they nibble away at your bones, they nibble away at your muscles. So even by doing nothing, your muscles are atrophying, your bone tissue is atrophying. You actively need to work your muscles in order to stay normal, maintenance, or indeed to ideally build lean muscle. So with that, I hope you found it helpful. If you have, what have you found works best for you? Pop it in the comments. Have you, what did you start working on your nutrition first? Did you start working on your strength training first? Did you combine both of them? Because I think most people find it easier to do the strength training than it is to work out their nutrition. So it'd be really interesting to hear, if you've had success, how have you found that success, and what, how did you then continue to build it? And if you're stuck, please just send me a message or fill in the Sparkle Back form. I'd be delighted. You're committed to nothing. All we'll do is have a chat, and I can give you some advice or tips, or indeed get you started with a system that does work so well. If you're really struggling just to get your act together and you're looking for a little bit of extra support, I'm a psychotherapist. I've been running my psychotherapy business for about 17 years now. I specialize in anxiety, grief, non-legal divorce, non-HRT menopause. And if you wanted to arrange time for a quick chat, then I'm more than happy to do so too. There's a link in my description where it just gives you a bit more information about what I do. I offer Zoom consultations and of course face-to-face as well. So I hope you have a fabulous week, and thank you for your company today, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.